And the recording is on. So, over to you, Professor Lee. Thank you for doing this.
All right, let me share my screen. And will it show up there when I share my screen?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. we can share it up there.
All right. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, GitHub. This will actually help me with context. How many people already have a GitHub account? Perfect. And you guys are remote. You guys have a GitHub account?
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. That makes this a whole lot easier. Okay, perfect. All right, so I won't get into creating GitHub. We're past that. Let's just start with the basics here of what GitHub is, and then this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to talk about what it is briefly. I want to show you how to create repositories briefly. Then I'm going to show you how to use GitHub Pages. And GitHub Pages is basically going to let you take the repository, and the repository will effectively become a web server. And in that web server, I'll show you how to create some HTML, CSS, JavaScript in there so that you can create a website from your GitHub repository. I'll show you how to download some templates so that you can create your own personal brand page. And then after that, if you're interested, I'll show you how to connect DNS to it so that you can have your domain name tied to your website. Try to do all of that in and out. If we finish early, I'll show you how to create a free GPT plugin so that you can have a liquid resume is what I call it. So you can just plug it in, press the button, and then employers, recruiters, etc., they can just talk to your resume directly. So if we have time, I'll show you how to do that. If not, then I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to start with this here. I documented everything that we're going to talk about. Let me just publish it. If you go to drlee.io, just go to drlee.io, and drlee.io, it's the very first one there. Build your personal brand with GitHub Pages, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Blah, blah, blah. So if you go there, literally everything that we're going to talk about today is documented step by step so that we can kind of, there's a takeaway. If I go too fast, you can do this at home, right? You can build as many or as few of these as you want. So with that said, I'm not even gonna, we're just saying, I'm too old to pretend, right? So I'm gonna be referencing the document that I created for you. You can see I created that literally 1 hour ago for you. But let's start with this. Here's a 60-second clip on this. In 60 seconds, why is this important? It's important because as you kind of matriculate, you look to transition careers, create careers. The thing that matters is not as much, what you want. The thing that matters is what value that you have to industry. The value that you provide to industry is human capital. Human capital is three things. It's your education. That's why MPC matters. It's your skills. That's why the certifications matter. In a lot of cases, the certifications will matter as much as your degree, to be honest, if you get the right certification. And then there's your work experience. And so if you're new to the industry, it's hard to have that work experience, right? You don't have that yet. So that's why building a brag page, a portfolio page, a personal brand page is important. That's the why behind this. And so I hope that when you leave here, put together your personal brand page, create a QR code, throw it on your resume, and as you go through, create projects, keep updating that brag page so that you can have your own personal profile up there. So that's why this is important. Showcase your projects. 73 million developers use it. So that's GitHub. What is GitHub? GitHub, it was invented by the same guy that invented Linux, Linus Torvald. He invented GitHub because he said, man, we have all of this code and we can't keep track of all of the code. So then every file, right, every code file, what he would do is he would hash every code file just to see if that code file changed. And then he realized that, man, I could coordinate all of this just by looking at the hashes in these code files to see if there's differences. So I don't have to go through and analyze millions and potentially billions of lines of code. I can just hash everything and look for changes in the hash. If there's a change in the hash, that means that that file changed. This is adopted worldwide. This is the industry standard for, we call it version control, right? There's not a single business out there that doesn't have code. That code has to be stored someplace. The repository for that is technically is Git. GitHub is the web version of GitHub. And that's how they track all of their code. So that's why GitHub is important, because that's how all of the code is tracked. Interesting side note, anybody ever use ChatGPT to write code? No. Really? Wow, you're in for a treat then.
Kind of.
Okay.
I prefer Anthropic.
Anthropic. Okay, all right, so it's going to be the same thing. Here's the thing. Where did ChatGPT, Anthropic, where did they get all of their code from to train the model to write code? And they got all of their code from GitHub. If you think about it, Microsoft was brilliant. They strategically purchased GitHub so they could have access to all of this public code. They used all of that code to train the model. And that's where with Claude, ChatGPT, that's where that comes from. And you can look and see it's great at Python. Why? Because GitHub has more Python than anything else. It's less good with Java, et cetera, because there's less of that. All right, so for the parlance.
You said that the one that created Linux was also a creator?
Linus Torvald, yes.
Because I thought that it was a small Java.
It was that created Git.
GitHub.
GitHub, yes. Git, which all of this is built on, was Linus Torvald. So that was all. Git is a command line.
So it's got to get from Git.
Correct. Yep. Okay, so
Quick question.
yes, sir.
So you mentioned, I think of Microsoft and the access to the code that you build on.
Yes.
Is GitHub a good repository for building out business?
Yeah. So okay. So two things. So Git is open source. Let's start with that. Git is open source. So it's either going to be Git or Bitbucket. Those are going to be the two kind of industry leading software version control platforms that are out there. So you have several choices. GitHub is Microsoft's now implementation of Git. So they give you a website to go on top of it. Think about it. They're giving you free storage. They're giving you access to all of the version control. That's free. But whatever you put out there, it's only free in the sense that you're not paying money, but you're giving your data. So that's how you're paying for it. But because it's open source, there's plenty of private implementations of Git and the equivalent GitHub. So in most places, what they'll do is they'll either get an enterprise GitHub, so they wall it off, so that they'll wall it off, or what they'll do is they'll take their own and they'll stand up their own open source implementation inside of industry so that you're not giving away all of your code.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so inside of GitHub, if you have an account in GitHub, then, and by the way, that's me when I was 19 years old. I took that picture never knowing that I'd be 51 years old, still with that pretty sweater on. That sweater was in style, I promise you, back then 30 years ago. That was in
It
style.
looks like a soccer jersey.
Yes. Okay, so in GitHub, first we'll start with this. Here's the concept of repositories. The easiest way to think about GitHub at this level is that GitHub is kind of like Google Drive, if you will, right? It's like Google Drive. So when you go to repositories, what's a repository? A repository is simply going to be, a folder, right? It's going to be where you're going to hold all of the files for your files for your project, right? So that's all that is. So I'm going to create a folder so I can build this out in real time so that you can see. Okay, it's a repo. The green button, new. I'm going to call my repo home page. And here's some worthless trivia with this. Again, everything is documented. I documented everything over there. You can make it public or private. And when you make it public or private, this is just for the world to see or not see, but Microsoft is going to see it regardless of whether you pick public or private. So I'm going to make this public. Here's a tip. Make sure you do add a README file. If you don't do add a README file when you create your repository, then it's more steps to kind of get kicked off. I like to always create a license. MIT and Apache, those are permissive new license, new public license. Those are permissive licenses. Basically, anything that's in here with the MIT license, anybody has the right to grab that. Done. Create the repository. Create the repository. And create the repository. That's my folder. Okay, that's my folder. So how does this work? So if I wanted to, now that I have my repository here, I can add any file that I want so long as it's less than 25 MB. So long as it's less than 25 MB, I can add anything that I want, and it's going to version control it. And if you think about it, for code, if you're writing code as a team, that makes perfect sense because I can add all of us together. We can all look at our project together, and we can all update the code, and every single change is going to be recorded. I can always go forwards, backwards. I never have to worry about ever losing anything, ever. I've had cases where I've had repositories out here. I had developers that were angry, and they deleted everything, our entire project. They deleted the entire project, and it didn't matter because all that we had to do was click on the file, we go to history to go one level back, and we recovered everything. So that's the beauty. Every change is recorded in GitHub. Every single change, everything that you do, which means that for collaboration, several of you can come together, you can write code, and you don't have to worry about, hey, what if I write code that breaks the app? I'll just go back. That's fine. So let me do this. So I'm gonna add a file here, so you can see, create a new file. I'm gonna upload a file just so I can have something. Upload a file, and everything is gonna be a commit. I'm just gonna put something in here so I have something. How about this? A picture. All right, so I have my picture here. Once I commit it, then it's there permanently. I never have to worry about deleting it because there's a history now for this file. If I clicked on Dr. Lee JPEG, go in here, that's a whole lot. I did not expect that, but history is what I wanted to show you. If you look at history in here for every file, as I go in and make modifications to this file, you'll see, just imagine that this is a code file. This is your Python, your Java, your C++. The history of that is always going to be recorded for every single file that you add here, and I can always revert back and go back and recover any file that I add. So far, so good? Okay. You guys remote, everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's in essence what GitHub is. I'm going to go back over here to code. I'm going to delete this file because I didn't mean to do that. So I'm going to click these three dots. They try to hide delete file. I'm going to delete this file, commit changes, fine, right? Everything you do, commit changes. And by the way, if you work in teams, then every time you commit something, you're supposed to add a description of what you did. Right? That way, as everybody looks at it, hey, I went in, I added some code, I updated your Python file. This is what I did. Commit, bang, it's permanently in there. And we can track it. All right. One last thing before I show you how to use the GitHub Pages portion of this. Over here, what we can do is we can create what are called branches. So I want you to imagine in my GitHub right now, I have all of my code. And in fact, here, before I even talk about branches, let me do this. If you click on settings, settings and collaborators. Let's say that you're working on a project. I keep saying good. Okay. So I keep saying code, but it doesn't have to be code. It could be any kind of document. So let's say that you're working on some assignment or something in class. It could be code, it could be any kind of document, it doesn't matter. You click on settings and you go to collaborators.
hard to see this.
So let me go over this 1 second. Let me might get mobile. Good feedback. It's not. It came up a lot faster than I thought it would.
In the meanwhile, I do have a question.
Sure. Go ahead. There we go. Okay, here's collaborators. And from collaborators, I can add people. So if you give me your GitHub ID, I should be able to add you to my repository. This is at the repository level. So I can add multiple collaborators at the repository level, and then we can all work on our code together. So I don't know anybody's ID right now.
Check in the chat.
Paula stays on
Jose,
it.
if you
All
say.
together.
Jose,
Here we go. Here we go, right here. Paula Miami.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Add Paula Miami. And so now the invite is sent to you, pending invite. You should be able to accept that.
You should have someone in the chat.
Oh, let me add it in chat too. Okay, thank you. It does. It's sent to the email. Yeah. Can somebody add something in chat? I can't find the chat here.
On the top.
Am I missing it? Camera
Put the
line.
chat there next to people on top.
Keep going up.
That's something.
So I know I look crazy, but I don't have that on this here. So you're looking at something totally different.
You can see.
There we go. Okay, got it. There we go. Perfect. Okay, thank you. All right. This. Have people. Okay.
I may have missed this, but if you wanted to include a git ignore file, what will we be programming in or not? Python?
Say it one more time.
If we have, are we going to be programming in any particular language? And if so, then what is it? So I can add a git ignore file.
Okay, so git ignore. Okay, so the git ignore file is just going to be a flat file where the only thing that you're going to put in there is a line separated list of the files that you don't want to get included if somebody downloads your repository. That's all the git ignore file is. So I'll open that up at the end and show you, but it's not even language specific. It's just going to be a flat file where you just list the files that you don't want included to be downloaded. So sometimes people will put like settings files or passwords. You should never do passwords, thank you. But people will do that sometimes and put that in the git ignore file so that people kind of fork the repositories and things like that. It doesn't get included. But I'll show you how to do that at the end. Okay, so I'm going to move on from right here because you see, once you go in, everybody right now can get to this repository. I'll put this in chat because it's public, but the people that are collaborators can add files, edit files, upload files, etc. So everybody should be able to get to that GitHub repository because it's public. I just put it in chat. Only the people here, once they accept the invite, will be able to edit, update, etc. Okay.
We are not getting that, right?
Sorry?
Are we getting an invite?
No, because I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to go back here to code. Do me one favor. If everybody could go to this URL right here, github.com/Fenego. I named my repository homepage. Go to that URL right there. And let me know when you're there, please. Okay. I can see. We can go a lot faster. Okay, so if you're there, here's what's changed my life, right? So in the top right up here, you should see an option to fork the repository. Go ahead and click on fork to fork the repository. And what happens is it's going to take that entire repository that belongs to me, and there you go. Once you fork it, just accept all of the defaults. It's going to clone that repository in your GitHub. So it's going to create a copy that belongs to you. And as I go in and make changes, you'll get to see on your side, hey, these are some changes, you're not in sync. And then you can update and stay in sync with my repository if you wanted to. So I can't tell you the number of repositories that exist out here that, man, for instance, one that I've been using a lot of is together.ai. I use that a lot, together.ai. I go to together.ai, for instance, and they have a bunch of example apps. Together.ai, they basically take the free and open source AI models from Hugging Face and they host them so that you can get the ChatGPT experience for a fraction of the cost using open source models. But what I love about them is that they'll also give you a bunch of demos. So for instance, if I go in here, here's a demo right here. If I look at this demo Blink Shot, this is all free and open source. Panda at the beach eating ice cream. All right, it's all free and open source. Okay. So if I wanted this, what do? I go back to together.ai and I go look in their code. And what do you think their code is? Their code's right there in GitHub. What's the first thing I'm going to do? I'm going to fork that repository so I own that repository. And then I'm going to go into something like Vercel or something like that and I can deploy it. But now I just forked this Blink Shot repository. That's mine. That's mine. As you kind of search all over the internet, you find cool stuff, I guarantee you it's going to be in the GitHub repository. Fork that repository, bring it down, and once you bring that repository down, that's your code. Well, look at the license first, right? Don't just take everybody's code, but look at the license, and then that's your code. Okay, and as they update their code over here, it's going to tell me if there's changes. In other words, if my version of this repository is out of sync with their version. And if it's out of sync, it'll give me the option to, over here, sync the fork, and it will sync the files together. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Let's say I fork it and then I make my own changes into the code.
Yep.
If I want to sync it, will my changes still be there,
So,
or it'll just
great question. So of course you're going to find so this is where Git and GitHub, this is where it's kind of indispensable. So what happens when we have conflicts is the question. So at that point, if you simply say, I want to sync it, what you're saying is, I want my local repository to be the same as that remote repository. That's what you're saying. So whatever changes you have, it's not that they're deleted, because remember, everything is there and you can always roll back. You can always get the history. But yes, it's going to overwrite any changes that you have, number one. Number two, there's a whole separate branch of Git and GitHub that I'm not going to get into today because I don't have time, but it's about branches and merging. So what I can do, instead of saying sync it, I can say I want to merge my changes. And then what it'll do is it'll look to see what files in here are in conflict, and the files that are in conflict, they'll go back to you and say, what do you want to do about these files? This is what you have. This is what's in the other one. You want to try to combine them together. You want to use this version. Then it's up to you, right? How do you manage conflicts? So that's a huge part of Git and GitHub. And you can see how, as developers, they have these go-to meetings, right? These touch points. What are they doing? They're saying, we all wrote code in this version of the product. Okay, these are all the 50,000 files. 7 of them have conflicts. We need to come together as a team and decide what we're going to do to manage the merges. So that's what it is. So merging is number 1, and you'll see push, pull, merges, and there's all types of logic that goes out of that. But it would be a merge.
Okay, another question, because I think I understand, but I'm not completely sure. Because so I know that GitHub is what we see on the web, for example.
Yeah.
Basically.
Mhm.
But then what's the difference with Git? Like, what's Git?
Okay, so everything that's going on right here, every time you press any button in here, sorry?
Like locally, that's what we call Git?
No, so everything that's happening in GitHub is an API call to something, right? The API call that is going to is Git. So what you can do, and what I'll do for everybody in here, I have a whole class on Git with labs and everything, I'll share it with you. But what you can do is you can install just Git, not GitHub, and what'll happen is you'll go to open source Git, you'll download just Git, you simply explode it locally, there's no user interface, nothing, right? Then you go in and you say, this directory I want to manage with Git, just Git, and everything that we can do here, you can do locally from the command line. There's no user interface, so you have to memorize all of the commands. If I want to merge, I have to do this. If I want to add files, I have to do this. How fast are people going to get tired of that? So then they say, okay, you know what? Let's just create a user interface to sit on top of Git. Okay, let's go one step further. Let's put that user interface, let's put it into the cloud. That's GitHub.
They did amazing.
Yeah, it's, I mean, yeah, most people don't know, like the history with Git and all that stuff, but yeah. But we can, I mean, if you want, look, I'm gonna stay focused right now. I can show you how to, if you wanted to, how to download Git, how to integrate the two and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay, so that's the beauty in 14 repositories. You're gonna find code all over the place. Man, this is, and you point to the directory, put that in ChatGPT. ChatGPT will go through, read your GitHub, understand the structure, know it's this type of document, update this file, tell me what I need to do to go back and update this in GitHub. That's kind of how you have to have your mindset. All right, I'm going to go back to home page. Let me go to repositories here. I'm going to go to my home page repository. Okay. First thing, I'm going to go into settings, and in settings, instead of collaborators, I'm going to go down here to pages, settings and pages. Okay, settings and pages. This is how you turn your repository into a website. So again, what I want to do is I want to turn this into a website and then go back to GitHub and install an HTML file, a cascading style sheet, some JavaScript, and then I wanted to have a URL that I can point to so I can represent that. So first, deploy from a branch, leave that as default. Second, over here where it says branch, select your main branch. Select your main branch. Here's we talk about AI ethics, right? Here's a perfect example for AI ethics. If you look at this as of 2 years ago, they didn't have a main branch. There was no main branch. They had a master branch, and that offended a lot of people, so they renamed master to main, okay?
Why did that offend people?
Because people of color in America were
Master
slaves, and it was called master slave.
Oh, master
It was
slave.
so this was the master branch, the other branches were the slave branches. So that was, that offended.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if you're not into.
Yeah. Anyway, we call this main. And we want to save this, and after you hit save, that's all you have to do, just change this to main, hit save. And this is the hardest part, we have to just sit here and wait. So after you hit save, let's refresh this a couple of times. It might take like 2 or 3 minutes, honestly.
Would you say GitHub pages source safe?
Up here, it's gonna say something right up here once it's ready. And while we're waiting for this, I'm gonna oh, there it is right there. Okay. Now it's telling you your site is live at right there. Your site is live at. And from here, if I clicked on visit site, it's only going to show my README right now because I haven't added anything to it. It's just going to show my README. Hard part's done. Hard part's done. That's it. So now this is an active website. So now it's my job to go in and add some HTML, to add some style sheets, etc. So let's take a look at that. So over here, I'm gonna go back to my document I provided for you. Everything step by step with screenshots.
Can you share the link again?
drlee.io. It's the first article there. I just put it there like an hour ago. Okay, so here's an example HTML file I just put in there. You can put any HTML file, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to copy this for right now. I'm going to go back to my repository.
So we do it. So we create a homepage in our accounts.
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to go back here to code. Go back to code. I know my site is live now. From code, I'm going to add a file in my root directory. I'm going to create a new file. And I'm going to call it index.html. And I'm going to paste it in here. Okay? I'm going to do commit changes. All right, so now I have index.html in here. And I'm going to go back to this URL. Back to the URL. I'm just going to refresh this. It might take a couple times to do it. Control refresh. Again, I'm dealing with cache now. I have cache problems. Story of my life. Again, it's going to take a little while. By the way, this URL is live.
Sounds like a double entendre.
Sorry?
I was just saying it sounds like a double entendre, cache problems.
Oh, yes. That was purposeful, yes.
Professor,
Yes.
I have selected
Here we go.
private, so I get the message that I need to upgrade or make this repository public to enable pages. So
It has to be public. Yeah, so I'll show you how to make it public in 1 second. But yeah,
So I need to go back or?
there's a setting that you can go to make it public. I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. Takes 2 or 3 minutes, but if you look up there now, there's my page. I mean, I'm not even sure how much value I can add at this point, right? At this point, it's going to be up to you. So here's the HTML. Here's my page here. With my page, if you go back, well, actually, let me show you how to do this first. If we're, this thing is in the way. There we go. Move this out of the way. So if you go back here, if you go to settings, click on settings. This is if you made your repository private. Go all the way to the bottom, and you'll see the danger zone. Go to settings, go all the way to the bottom, and you'll see the danger zone. In the danger zone, you'll see change visibility. And if it's private, you can change it to public. If it's public, you can change it to private. So that's only if you set this as private in the beginning, and then that should take care of that issue. Okay. While we're doing this, while some of you are doing this, I'm going to go back to code, and I'm just going to add the other files to. That was an HTML file.
I'm sorry. I did that, and it says that I need to make it public. I just did.
it might take some time to refresh, I'm sorry.
So we have the text file, right?
How do you use a medium? I get that.
Just go to,
By the way.
Go to drlee.io.
it's a link of the,
drlee.io, yeah.
is that the,
Yes, right there.
yeah, here.
You may have to sign into Medium.
That's cool.
Then refresh it there.
That's the first one. That's what he says. If you log in, just put that in.
Yeah, so it's called Medium. It's called, yeah, you're good. Yes, sir.
I don't know why it didn't work.
You're in my repository, that's why.
I thought it was supposed to be in there.
No, it's in your repository. You can go back to yours. What's the name of your GitHub? Oh. How we do this, remove enable?
Branch name, save, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, new file.
Where is the file?
There you go. Oh, so
Yeah, you can create a new one, or whatever you want to do.
just click on it, and just follow.
And just for, just to be clear, in this drlee.io, literally every single step is there. So if you, I want to make sure I show you, I demo everything end to end. So if anybody gets stuck, everything is right there for you. So I'm gonna just quickly add some style sheets to this.
We keep adding those files, right?
I wouldn't, because I'm gonna show you another way to do it, where I'm gonna blow this away in a second. So don't even worry about this here. This is just to demo what it does. But I'm gonna show you in a second how to, what I call this. I call this style. Thank you.
CSS.
Style.css. Create new file. Style.css. Here, make changes. And I'm going to do the other one too. The other one is JavaScript here for the button. Script.js. Add file. Create new file. Script.js.
Yes.
Commit changes. Okay. So once I get to this point right here, I have index.html, script.js, style.css. And again, if you just refresh your page, it takes 2 or 3 minutes to refresh the page. And don't worry so much about this, because I'm gonna blow all of this away here in a second and show you a better way to do this. So I just want you to see, it takes 2 or 3 minutes here to refresh all of this.
Love the green.
There we go. That's that ugly green right there, but so it reads style sheets, JavaScript, and HTML. Okay, so you have your website, but you have an ugly website. Okay, this URL belongs to you. It's your domain name for your brand. Remember, the purpose is to develop a brand site. So if you go to places like HTML5up.net, HTML5up.net, what they do is they give you a bunch of free templates. In those templates are only style sheets, HTML5, and JavaScript for all of those templates. You can see the game, right? You can see the game. It's very simple. We have a web server where you can host anything that you want. Now we're going to go in and we're going to find something that we want. So you go through here, find. So I'm going to find a template that I want. So I'll just pick this one right here. Doesn't matter. What's going to happen is when I download this, what's going to happen, should give me a free version. Okay. In my free version here is going to be a zip. just gonna extract this zip here. Just extract everything in this zip file. Fine, let me see what's in here. This zip file will only contain images, HTML, JavaScript, and style sheets. Everything in here is permissive license, Creative Commons. You can use anything in here. So now that I have this, all I'm going to do is go back. This way. Go back to my GitHub. And I'm going to take all of my files here and literally just drag and drop them into GitHub. Okay, let them go in there.
Did you create a folder there?
Nope, didn't need to create a folder. Just drag. Oh, I extracted everything from the zip. Just drag and drop everything, and it'll make the folder structure and everything for you in GitHub. You don't have to do it one at a time. I'm going to commit changes to this. Commit changes. So I think in this one anyway, there's 46, but it depends on whichever one you want to download. But there was 46 files. So there you go. So now everything in here is loaded. Everything in here is loaded. So same thing, right? Now that the files are in here, it's going to take me a while to keep going, 2, 3, 4 minutes. It'll.
So when you drag over those files after you extracted them, you had to copy them into the program?
Nope, it's doing all this for you.
Drag it,
Drag and drop it, and you'll see that it'll say loading, loading, loading every file, all 46 of them. Even the subfolders will catch all the subfolders, everything.
and then afterwards just waiting to catch up.
Yeah, after it's over, I'll give you my contact. Anybody wants to walk through it separately, but the details are in that document step by step. So if I do this here, there we go. Look at that there. Look at that. Okay. Look at that. So, and if I hit discover, bang, that's showing you that the JavaScript is working in here. Okay. That's my index.html file. So now I have the bones of a personal brand page here, formatted. It's the JavaScript's done for you. The style sheets are done for you, right? So, and it's free, right? I have this out here hosted out here right now. It doesn't cost you a nickel to host this forever. The last thing I'm hoping I have time to show you, I'll show you how to connect your domain name to this. But before I do that, let me show you the important part. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT now.
And you were saying that I could grab all those files, and I could put it in a ChatGPT and say, hey, help me fix this.
That's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. So if we go into the only file I care about is index.html. Index.html. So I'm going to copy all of index.html, throw it in ChatGPT. Okay. Bang, bang, bang. By the way, that separator matters. Dash, dash, dash. Please. I want this to be a personal brand page for me and my achievements. Don't judge me if I misspell something. My degrees are in physics, not English.
When would it be better to choose the 4.0 mini? Because it's better with coding.
When to choose which model? So there's a lot of research around this right now, but certainly 0.3 mini high is phenomenal if you're doing coding.
Yeah.
Not so much if you're doing writing, because its whole purpose is to capture the pattern, and then it stops being creative for writing. So general tasks like this, it's probably better. But you're right here. Let's try 0.3 mini high. Okay, I want next. No, I'm going to keep it at 4. I'm going to keep it at 400. For me and my achievements, let me see if I can find a picture of me somewhere. Okay, something on up here. There you go. There's a dentist in Pennsylvania named Dr. Ernesto Lee, so I can't tell you how many people think I'm a dentist. All right, so here's something. It's fine. Here is my image. Please give me the code so I can copy it into. I put it into the article. I put the prompt into the article.
Oh.
Yeah. Please give me code so I can copy it into GitHub. All right. So while that's doing its thing over there, let me show you what I'm talking about over here. So in the article, that's what I'm showing you. There you go, step by step with screenshots. There you go, unzip it, upload the files, blah, 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 activate your site. And here is, that's right there is what I just did right there.
That's Medium?
What's that?
That's the Medium article?
Yes, in the Medium article.
So this is what tools like Bolt are doing in the backend, right?
Of course.
What's the name of the article?
You go to drlee.io.
Well, I'm in the app, the Medium app. What's the?
Are you logging into the meeting?
Medium?
No, the meeting now?
What's his name?
Well, I know you probably got the links, right? I just want to make sure that. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see what this comes back with. All right, still doing this thing. That's actually scary. I just started that website 2.5 weeks ago, courseware.io, and it's, yeah, I didn't say anything about that and figured that out. Yeah.
Do you use ChatGPT to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm uncomfortable with that. All right, so here's all my HTML. Let me copy this, go back over here to my home page. You see this little pencil right here? That pencil means edit. I'm gonna edit this HTML. Paste it in here, commit my changes. And again, just like over and over and over, right? I'm gonna need to.
And like you said, Professor, when you're committing those changes, if you're working with the team, hey, I updated this, hey, I updated that.
Add that there, and all of that gets captured.
And you add those users from their hash.
I have a quick question. So I downloaded it, and then I unzipped it and then I put it in the GitHub. Now I still have the index.html file. Where do I put all of the downloads? Like straight up in the main page?
Like we can drag.
You just extracted everything?
Yeah.
Okay, one more time, sorry, I didn't.
So I extracted everything and
Yep.
it gave me this
Okay.
file. But
Yep.
it gave me this all assets, what that's what they call it.
No, there's something missing here. Go back.
Because I don't have any.
Where did you unzip it again?
Yeah.
There should be an HTML file of highlights. I don't see that folder here. All right, so that's better. So all of that. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Wait, how do I go back then?
How do you?
How do I go back? Or hard folder, because that's what it is.
I'm not sure what the candidate is.
No, I don't see it.
Oh, that's gonna be a challenge. You should just dump them in here and they'll overwrite them.
Wait, that's not last week?
Friday. Let me know.
Okay, I forgot what the
You updated the website?
URL was.
Homepage.
Yeah, it was homepage.
These.
Fernandez-Calvo, here you go, right here. There you go, right there, right? There you go, right there. So that's from ChatGPT. At this point, it's iterative. At this point, you have to just iterate through over and over and over, right? Until you prompt it, until it shows your accomplishments, has the links to what you want.
The URL changed.
Yes, the URL change. Let me show you that, right? So this is, yeah, I mean, you look, that's not bad for, literally 5 minutes worth of work. Yeah.
You're gonna pay $250 a month.
Oh, 100, yeah, completely. Free, those are the steps, that's the magic for hosting it. Last, the final frontier is we have to create a domain name for this, okay? We have to create a domain name for this. So let's go back into GitHub. Again, everything's documented out there. I'm gonna go to settings. Go to settings. I'm gonna go to pages. Settings and pages. All right? That's gonna tell me where my URL is. Scroll down a little bit, you see there's an option for custom domain. So obviously you have to have a domain name. So I'm not sure, I'm gonna go to GoDaddy, I got a bunch of domains. I'm not sure, see if I can find one that's available.
In order for it to have that domain, you need a hosting.
You need to pay for the domain, whatever it is, $5 a year, $10, whatever it is, yeah. Okay, so just trying to find a domain name. Here, how about Ernesto.co? Do the DNS, Ernesto.co. For my DNS records here, what you would want to do, again, all documented, is you want to add a CNAME record to your www. Okay, so what that means is Ernesto.co.
See what? I'm sorry.
So you need to add a new record. The record I want to add is going to be a CNAME record. www. And I forgot what the
But you need
to go to GitHub.
GitHub.
what I call it. This. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. Right here. Add CNAME right here. Add this domain name here. Okay, that's it. CNAME, www, and then.
Wait, yeah, exactly.
So you have to create a CNAME. That's drop down. Has to be www, and I did document all of that. And the last one is always going to be the same. It's going to be your username.github.io. My username is Fernandez. Yours is paulamiami.github.io, etc. Right? And then once I save this over here, nope, you can leave that the same. Okay, so I have a conflict with one. I have this here too. Yeah, so I have to edit this one here because I already have one that's www. So let me edit this. Change this to Fernandez.github.io. Let me save this. Okay, done. Let me go back to GitHub. And GitHub, this should be www.ernesto.co. Save. And once I save that, now I'm at the mercy of cache. Yeah. So now I have to wait while this matriculates all across the entire world. And once I go to Ernesto.co, it's gonna pop up with that website. I just did this an hour ago for J9.D. It's gonna take a little while for it to go all the way around the
I've
world.
already seen it.
You already seen it?
Yeah, there it is. That's
Okay.
Ernesto.co, and you.
Ernesto.co, okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Yes, slash
Hi.
Ernesto.co. Okay, actually, there it is right there. Okay, done. So now you have boom to tune. Follow the document from the beginning to the end. From the beginning to the end. At the end, you'll have a free brand page. Iterate through index.html over and over and over until you're happy with the HTML. Blah blah blah. Okay. Can I get 4 more minutes to show you one last thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
All right, so here's the next thing I would do. So now I'm at Ernesto.co. Make sure you guys have a bit.ly account, bit.ly. Bit.ly. Okay, so in bit.ly, it's free. It's just a URL shortener. It's a URL shortener. So what am I going to do now that I have my site over here? I'm going to go to bit.ly, create a new shortener. And what I want, I'll do this for a link for right now. It's dead simple. Create new link. Put in your URL. It could be the Finago, blah, 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 whatever you want. Doesn't matter. It's going to create a shorter URL on the back end, bit.ly, let's say resume 35 or something like that. See if that's available. Okay, resume 35. I want a QR code for this. Okay, and let me create my link. And there you go. So can you guys go to bit.ly/res35, please? bit.ly/res35. Why do we do this? Because, man, this is a whole lot easier to remember. This is a whole lot easier to put on your resume. So you can put bit.ly/whatever, as opposed to finago.github.io/homepage1/blah, blah, 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 right? Okay, in addition to that, I'm going to go back here, and there's your QR code, right? There's your QR code. If you hit that QR code, again, copy that QR code, put that QR code on your resume, right? You hit that, bang, it's going to go, in this case, to Ernesto.co, or whatever it is, whatever it is you set up for yours over there. There you go. And by the way, because we use HTML5up.net, it's not just JavaScript, it's responsive. So it should work it should automatically adjust on your cell phone. If you have a tablet, you'll see the HTML will automatically adjust so that it works on all devices, right? So that's the benefit there. Okay. Man, we could go on forever, but I'm gonna stop right. We did the DNS, we did bit.ly. The QR code, you attach your domain. The only thing last thing I'll say is, if you go to voiceflow.com, it's free. If you go to drlee.io and do a search for VoiceFlow, I have a million of these out here. But if you sign up for a free account, it's free. They'll let you create a free widget. They'll give you a little bit of HTML. And in the end, what will happen is you take your resume, you take your projects, you load your projects into VoiceFlow. They're going to give you a widget. You pop your widget right on your brand page. Click on it, boom, it pops up like ChatGPT, and people can ask questions about your resume, your projects, etc. Don't have time to go through that now, but if you go on drlee.io, there's a ton of these out here. Power your workday, build your personal AI assistant, blah, 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 blah. But if you walk through here, and you kind of just go to the end, I'll show you what it looks like. You get to the end of this process here, and it's going to give you this little block of JavaScript. And remember, GitHub reads HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Take that little JavaScript with the help of ChatGPT if you want, dump it into your index.html or add it as a separate file. It's up to you. And then once you do that, that's what it'll look like, right? Build a little bot, press on the bot, bing, it pops up. You can add, whatever you want. I recommend that you put your website in there. I did show you how you can embed it into Google Sites also. It's all the same thing here. You can put it in Google Sites if you want, and you'll see a little icon there for people to click on and go. Okay, let me say this so I can respect your time. I documented, I can't stress this enough, go to drlee.io. Every single thing that we've talked about in here is documented step by step with screenshots, everything from beginning to end. Go back, build out your own personal brand page, build it out, iterate through, just get it to work first, right? Just get it to work and then go into index.html and just update it a little, just keep updating it a little bit at a time until you're happy. Go pay the $5 on GoDaddy. Get yourself a domain name that represents your brand. Put your brand on here so you can walk away. This is it. You're done for life, right? You never have to pay for it. You never have to worry about it going away. And as you go through, take classes, build projects, whatever it is you do, just go back out here to ChatGPT, update this with this project, point to this link in my GitHub, right? Because every repository is going to be its own link. Point to this link in my GitHub. You do something on Tableau, point to your Tableau. But this should be a representation of your work. Put this on your resume, people look at it. If you get past the first step in an interview and you don't have work experience, man, it's sure good to say, look, okay, no, I haven't worked in this field before, but I've done this, and this. And now it gives you a frame of reference and context. People can look at your work. And it does make a difference. I promise you it's better than going in there saying, I have no experience and I have nothing to show you.
Thank you, Professor Lee.